Hi everyone, welcome to Rosemary's Kitchen. Here we are again. What are we going to cook today? Well, this recipe is a recipe I used to cook years and years and years ago, but I haven't actually made it since I left England, and that's a long time ago. So I thought, well, I don't eat pork, but this is a pork dish, it's going in the recipe, so I thought, well, even though I don't eat it, the sauce actually is so delicious. I eat the sauce, I just don't eat all that stuff. And when I make the sauce, I don't put any juices in it. So it's a perfect sauce for you if you're a vegetarian. And if you like pork with a delicious barbecue sauce, this is the dish for you. All right, so it's pork, what is it? Pork with apricots. All right, so I've left all this stuff out, but I don't know if you can see this jug of
yumminess
of gunge in there. It really does look quite disgusting before it's cooked. So we have some vegetable oil, 2 ounces of vegetable oil, 4 ounces of ketchup, 2 ounces of malt vinegar. If you want the recipe, you just have to email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. We'll give you the recipe. A little Tabasco sauce, some Leon Perrins. I'm wondering if I put that in. And I'm not sure, so just in case, I love this stuff. So about a teaspoon, in it goes. There we go. Doesn't matter if we put a bit more in, does it? Salt, of course, and some mixed herbs or some oregano. You can do dried or fresh. And we have, now usually when I made this recipe years ago, I used ham hocks, which in this part of the world I can't find anywhere. So I've substituted ham hocks with this pork shoulder, which is really delicious. There's still a lot more meat on it. You can see in this little dish here, I took out all the fatty bits because, aside from the fact that my puppy is going to love this, eaten slowly, gently, carefully. Do you like pork, Carolyn?
Yes, I do.
I don't know if you want to try this little bit here. What I did with this, it's fatty. She's got a finger out ready. Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
What I do with this, with any pork, is that delicious? What I do with any kind of a pork, I like to actually have the skin on. And I score it deeply with a knife, with a good sharp knife, happened to be this one. And then I put lots of salt on and I rub the salt in. Now, if you leave that overnight and then roast it in the oven, that creates what we in England call crackling. Those of you who are watching, you Brits out there, will know exactly what I'm talking about, crackling, and you can actually snap it and it just crackles and crisps up. Was that good?
That was delicious.
That was good, right? So anyway, I've roasted this shoulder and on 350. If you do ham hocks, it's the same, or you might want to do it sort of on high for a little bit and then cook it on a little bit lower heat. It was in the oven for about two or 3 hours altogether. So that's that. And we have mashed apricots. Now, in this, can you see that? Now, in this recipe, again, I've had to improvise because nowhere could I find canned apricots. And if you're going to use canned apricots, you need both the apricots themselves mashed and you need the syrup that's in the apricots. You need 8 ounces of apricot syrup, or apricot syrup as you say in America. Now I'm going to show you, because I couldn't find canned apricots, I've made my own. These are purely and simply apricots cut in half. I'm going to just do one of them for you to show you how easy it is. I don't know if you can see all that delicious juice, syrup, whatever it is, which we're going to put in the sauce right there. And all this juice is the juice from the apricots with some brown sugar. So all I did was halve the apricots, sprinkle them with soft brown sugar, put them in the oven, covered them up, put them in the oven and cooked them for about an hour and then on low, and then left them overnight. And this is what happens. They get a bit soggy. I've done most of them. So, and you can see that how easily, she says, you just rub it, and can you see the skin comes off? Because you don't really want the skin in your sauce. I mean, if you want to, you can have it, but I prefer to just rub the skin off, and you can see how tender these apricots are because they're just falling to pieces. And then just make sure on the inside, you know how you have the pips, of course I've de-pipped them, but just make sure there's none of the rough stuff from the pip, and you throw it in there, and we'll give them a little mash. Let me just get a piece of paper towel. We give them a little mash up. So we've got the apricots. So I did the fresh apricots, which are good, and I put some of this right in there. So in here we've got all of this stuff plus the apricot syrup and an onion, finely chopped onion, and I put in here, which means I won't eat it, I put in here, I might have a little taste actually when I think about it, about 4 or 5 tablespoons of the juice from the pork. Make sure that you're not going to get the fat. Make sure that you take the fat off. You can either skim it or you can leave it to set, and then when it's set, take the fat off the top, and then you have this most delicious juice. And now I know this pot looks a bit big, but the smaller one looked too small, so what can I tell you? So I'm going to just literally throw the meat, the apricots and this sauce all into here. I'm going to bring it to the boil and then leave it on a very low simmer for a couple of hours. So here we go with this. You can see I've got my spatula because I don't want to lose, should I say, any of it. I don't know if you can see in that pot there, but it's sort of really horrible looking stuff when I think about it. Can you see if I tip it like that? The pot does look a bit big, but nevertheless, I didn't want to use my smaller one and then have it overflowing. I'm going to, as I've said, I'm going to put all this meat. You want between 2 and 3 pounds of meat. I took it off the bone and I just chopped it into pieces like this. Give it a good spin around. Oh, it already looks good. Look at that, Carolyn. Then I'm going to throw in these mushed apricots. This is the simplest and the easiest. The only hardship of this is to measure it all out, because even with the pork, you just put, either score it or not. It's up to you. Shove it in the oven and leave it, because you don't even need to season it, because all of this, can you see that? And I'm guaranteeing even if we ate it like this, it would taste good. But I'm going to bring that to the boil. I'm going to leave it for a couple of hours to simmer low, and then we'll be back and I'll show you the finished product. Now that 2 hours went really fast. And here we have it, and I'm actually going, it smells so good. I can't believe it's been all this time that I made it. In the ingredients, I forgot to tell you there's an ounce of soft brown sugar in here as well. And I'm going to taste the juice in a minute to see if we need to add any more, but I'm going to ladle it out just so you can see, because what happens is as you cook it and you leave it on it, you bring it to the boil and then you leave it on a low simmer for a couple of hours, and all of those juices, they reduce to a nice rich thick sauce, as you will see as we are putting it into the pot. I don't know if you can See that, Carolyn?
Oh, yes.
Oh yes, she says. Oh yes. And I would serve this if I were eating it. Actually, if I were if I was serving this as a dinner, I would perhaps serve it as a second dish for me because I don't eat pork. But I would certainly serve it over a bed of rice. Can you see all those chunky pieces of meat in there?
Oh, definitely.
And that really delicious, rich sauce that goes along with it. We could have used a smaller saucepan. You can see this is going to feed at least 4 really big, huge guys, or 6, maybe not so big and huge, over a bed of rice. This amount is probably going to feed a good 6 people. Would you say that?
Yes, yes, I would agree.
And maybe if it's us delicate ladies, maybe it would be less. Maybe we'd get 8. Sorry, more. Maybe we'd get 8. God, look at this. So we took some out and put it in the fridge for Carolyn. It might have cooled down enough for you to eat it there. Would you like me to feed you, Carolyn?
You pass me the spoon, please.
Well, here you are. Help yourself.
Thank you.
And I'm going to taste just a little bit of the sauce here, because that should tell me whether there's enough sugar, whether there's enough seasoning.
So good.
Okay. So even though I don't eat pork, I could really dip into that sauce.
That sauce is fantastic.
That is superb. It really is a delicious dish. Very inexpensive. As I say, I actually got on sale a really nice piece of shoulder of pork. Pork shoulder, however you want to say it. And I still have a lot left. But as you can also see, I don't know if you can get a close-up of that. What I like with this is because I've trimmed off all the fat and I've scooped off all the fat. And in the recipe it says put in at least, I think it's 3 to 4 tablespoons of the juices from the meat. Make sure that that's not the fat, because you don't want this dish to be a fatty dish. You want this to be a really delicious, wholesome dish. And with rice, with a nice fluffy white rice or a jasmine rice. Carolyn's still eating as we're filming. It must be really good. She said to me, don't give me too much, because we've already had chicken salad on a crisp bread that I made this morning. And we all also had some delicious egg custard. She said, I don't want much of this. I can't eat much of this. But she's going to finish it off, aren't you? You just
yes.
You got to finish it off.
Oh.
It's good, right?
It is delicious. My mouth is saying more and more.
I know. All right, but you be careful have though. So don't give yourself tummy ache. So there's no fat on the top of that. There's no oil, no fat, nothing at all. And it really is the most superb and delicious dish. What we're doing in the cookbook is we're putting in the recipe with the apricots. Remember, you can use canned apricots. You get equally as good a result if you use canned apricots and the syrup from the canned apricots. I just happened to I got cheap apricots, so it was so easy for me to just put them in a dish, sprinkle some sugar on and shove them in the oven for an hour or so. And I actually left my apricots overnight, and you can see how easily, just using your thumb, pushing the skin, how easily you can, take the skin off of the apricots. It's a really easy dish to do. You just throw everything in the pan, close your eyes, throw everything in, cook up the sauce, then throw in the meat, and bingo, there you have it. A delicious apricots with pork. And I think that's about it. Grey Eagle thinks this is a great dish, I have to tell you. My daddy loves this dish. He would eat it, more and more and more of it. And so until Carolyn's got a thumbs up, she would eat more and more of it. So easy, very inexpensive dish to make, let me tell you. Really, really very, very inexpensive, but tastes as if you've spent the world on it. And so until we see you again in Rosemary's Kitchen, please, 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 from all of us here, have a very, very, very blessed day.